Hi everyone, welcome to Our Focus is You. My name is Tina Paulus Kraus, and with me,
Hi, I'm Ken Collins. Happy October, everyone.
yeah, can you believe it's already October? October is Cancer Awareness, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so we want to dedicate this whole show really to breast cancer awareness. It holds a very special place in our heart, so we're really excited to kind of talk about that today, right, Ken?
Yes, we are. And as you recall, we had a guest, Heather Knox, in our
Yeah.
last episode who shared with us her journey
Yeah.
and the successes coming out of that, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was amazing. She was amazing, and if you haven't watched that episode, please go back and watch it because it was our actually last couple of episodes we've had some guests on. So I think today what we want to kind of do is just talk about what we've done so far and where we're going in the future a little bit, right? We want to kind of summarize that a little bit.
And we'll do that.
Yeah.
But before we go there,
Yeah.
what's going on with you lately, Tina?
You know, I just got back from an amazing trip with my parents. I moved from South Dakota 14 years ago now, and so my parents, you know, I don't get to see them that often, and so what we've started doing every year is going on a trip, and this year we went to New York to go to my cousin's wedding, and so I got to spend about 5 days with my mom and dad, and that was really nice and much needed and kind of got me back on track again, so it's always nice to do that.
Outside of family, was there an attraction that you were looking to pinpoint and hit while you were there?
You know, we actually, we were supposed to do this boat cruise. So the wedding was on this amazing boat, and we were supposed to kind of do the Staten Island tour as the wedding was happening. And right as the wedding ceremony kicked off, the engine in the boat blew. So the tourist kind of stuff that we were going to do, we didn't get to do. But I've been to New York a couple of times, and Mom and Dad were just as happy, I think, just to hang out and talk and spend some good quality time. So it was good. How about you? What's going on with you?
Well, you know, before I go there, Tina, I have to let the audience know that I was looking at my latest edition of Brava magazine earlier this week.
Yeah.
And for those of you who may get that same subscription, if you look inside the articles, I was breezing through and all of a sudden noticed some quotes from Tina in there.
Yeah.
And so could you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, really excited about that. I got a phone call a couple of months ago, and I think, you know, some of the stuff I'm doing with True You is kind of getting out into the community, and people are talking about it, which is really cool. And Brava called me, and Emily Lees, who's amazing. I loved meeting her and getting to know her. She interviewed me, and that article's in Brava this month. So that was really fun. It's kind of fun to open that up and see that stuff in there. So really excited about that.
I'll have to get an autograph after
Right.
the show.
Yeah, not quite yet. How about you? What's going on in your world?
Whew. The deep breath there. Lots going on. Personally, I turned 54 in October, and
okay.
so
Happy birthday.
well, yeah, it is. You know, I keep saying every time you hit those milestones, oop, 30, oh boy, 40, uh-oh, 50, uh-oh, and you know what now? None of those were so bad.
Right.
And right now I'm looking at 60 going, there's nothing wrong with that either. And so, yeah, looking forward to year 54.
Right.
And
I think it's amazing when you actually take care of yourself, which I know both you and I have kind of been on that journey in the last several years of learning how to do that and realizing how to do that. And I have to say, I feel better today than I've probably felt in 20 years. And I think that taking care of myself and doing some of the things that we've been doing has really helped that. So
Yeah, I think what keeps people fresh, so to speak, you're only as old as you feel, is if you continue to keep growing.
Right.
Personally and professionally. And then I always have this slogan, never grow up, and so I'm never going to be too old to do something.
Right.
So.
Right.
Outside of that, we are going to be attending UW Whitewater and Family Fest.
Fun.
Vanessa's first year of college, and it's an event, all-day event at Whitewater to get the families acclimated to the students being in college and pulling us back
Nice.
together and things like that. And so I think our whole family's looking forward to that. You know, that adjustment is a little bigger than I had thought for our entire family, and so Vanessa has been missed, and we're going to get to hang out here, so that's pretty cool.
You have a couple of life things going on right now.
Yeah, you know, now that you mention that, one more thing on the personal side before I go to professional is my dad has been in and out of hospitals and long-term care facilities since April. And so he had his second surgery on his spine just a couple weeks ago, and yeah, he's struggling through that. And so we're paying close attention there. Trying to keep the optimism up and keeping his spirits up, but yeah, Dad's fighting right now, and so we're cheering him on. And so that's also in the background besides other things.
Right. Sending lots of love and prayers, and hopefully for his recovery. So.
Yep. And I'm headed there right after we're done here this morning. So.
Right.
The other thing too, I'd mentioned professionally, talk about a lot of things going on, and I don't want to get too long here, but do want to share a couple of things. So. In the next 2 weeks, I will be kicking off one of my newly acquired business clients. And so I will have 33 employees that I will be delivering a comprehensive program to over the next 9 months
Nice.
on training, business building, helping them build parts of their business, and then one-on-one coaching. And so 33 of their leadership and high potential employees are involved in this program of training, mentoring, and coaching. And they're focusing on teamwork and leadership and communication.
Nice.
And so
That sounds like a great program.
I'm pretty excited about that and to be involved in that. And then also, too, I will be speaking at the ABC of Wisconsin HR conference, statewide HR conference. I'm a keynote speaker, When Policy and Culture Collide.
There we go.
So being from the business environment and wearing that HR
never
hat.
happens, right?
Oh, no. So that'll be interesting. It's been interesting to prepare. And then lastly, I'm really excited too. I have a new strategic partner, Moraine Park Technical College.
Okay.
And I will be conducting some critical skills training to their welders boot camp
Okay.
program. And so there's a big welding shortage in Wisconsin, with manufacturing being pretty prevalent industry in the state. And so part of developing the skills for welders is also the critical skills employers are looking for. And so I'll be guiding them through communicating clearly is one of the 4-hour segments, and then listening effectively is the other block of 4. So
those are some great topics.
Yeah,
I think great topics that anybody can really learn from and understand and work on.
yeah, not just for welders.
Right, exactly.
So I'm pretty excited about those things all coming up. And so
Yeah.
I think I got a lot going on, but equal balance. There's some
Right.
things we're working through, and also some things I'm really looking forward
Right.
to as well.
Well, one of the things I want to let the viewers know about is, when we originally started kind of talking to each other and understanding that we had all these common things in common and stuff like that, we wanted to open up the discussion, which is where this episode kind of came from. And we've really struggled over the last several episodes a little bit because we wanted to really be able to get the feedback from the people that are watching it as we talk. So we now have a Facebook page called Our Focus Is You. So how fun is that, right?
Yes, it is.
So, as we talk about our topics and we open up the discussion here in Our Focus Is You, in a TV format, if there's things that we can get to you faster and quicker in our Facebook site. So go out to our Facebook and Our Focus Is You and like our page, and hopefully we'll be able to connect even a little bit more with everybody. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, and I want to really send some kudos out to Sun Prairie Media Center. So we just had a meeting with them to kind of evaluate how things have gone, what could we do to make things better and all that. And so their cooperation and giving us the opportunity to do the things we're doing is pretty exciting. And so we were really focused on trying to get the show to be more interactive.
Yeah.
And so I think by starting this page, it'll allow us not only during episodes, but in between episodes to interact, share, and learn from each other. And they say there's strength in numbers, so the larger the support group, the stronger we'll be.
Absolutely, and just even sharing stories. I mean, we want to start having guests in, and that was really fun the last couple of episodes. And so as we kind of get to know the viewers and the people that are interested in this topic a little bit more, hopefully we can kind of find more guests and find more people that have awesome stories out there, because we all have a story. We've talked about that several times. Yeah. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to summarize kind of where we've been and where we're going, right?
Yeah, I think we should, to catch everyone up. And so, Tina and I have developed this process on topics that we're going to share with you. And so I think it's fair that now several weeks have gone by, is let's wrap it together before we move to the next step in the process. And the next step is the action step. Now that we're self-aware, we're on this self-discovery kind of trip, sometimes rediscovery.
Right.
Because we can go into rediscovery mode several times throughout our lives.
Right. I think that's happened to me in the last 3 weeks,
Well,
right? Because life gets busy, and whether it's work or home or kids or parents or whatever it is, life gets busy. And some of those things that you need to do on a daily basis to stay kind of centered and grounded, we lose sight of that stuff. And so I found myself in the last week going, okay, I got to get back to some of those daily non-negotiables that I know are what keep me centered and keep me strong. So.
Yeah, so the first couple episodes were kind of on this recalibration, stepping back, reflecting, looking at our lives currently as they are. What are some of our strengths or giftedness? What are we passionate about? What are the opportunities? And then we move to the tool segment. So now that we're creating this self-awareness process and getting some things jotted down, what are some tools to kind of move you along to the journey?
Right, right. Like, so we talked about I am statements. We talked about some of the mirror work. And what I love about the Facebook page is that we'll be able to continue that conversation in that Facebook page, right? Because I think what's happening now is we talked about it and it's done, but how do we keep that conversation going for those who really want to start practicing some of those tools that we've talked about? So I think that'll really allow us to be able to do that.
Yeah, and like most things, there's no quick fix here. This is a process, and so what we're doing is a summary of the process. Right. And then also want to keep it alive, so to speak, through Facebook, re-summaries on our show and things like that. And so, you know, we were able to go through those tools, and then we thought, well, what a good way to wrap both those things together with some guests, sharing personal stories, how they met some challenges on, reverted back to what they were passionate about, and then the choices. I think, the choices they made.
It's always a choice, right? Whether it was Tim talking about his story or whether it was Heather talking about her story, the amazing thing to me when they were doing that was that they were both very, very self-aware that they had a choice to make. They could have let these circumstances that were happening to them take them down, or they could have chosen to let those circumstances lift them up. And in both of those cases, they really took, you know, life's hard knocks and what happens to most people, and they really were able to kind of turn that around and make it a good, positive kind of experience so that they could teach others. And both those stories were amazing.
Yeah, and they, you know, very different stories, very different people, obviously, very different situations. However, there were some common threads in all that, and that is, you know, life is about choices. Yeah. The choices we make daily determine what our tomorrow is.
Right. Even as little as exercise, right? So, I mean, we're all guilty of it. Well, not all of us. I'm guilty of it, that, you know, you work hard all day long and then you come home and you do all the stuff that you have to do at home, and then it's like, when am I supposed to exercise? And so it's an easy choice to go, oh, I'm not going to exercise today. I'm going to sit on the couch and eat this bag of Cheetos, because it's an easy choice. And day after day after day, when you do that, that results in weight gain, and it results in, you know, just unhealth all over the place. And so it's those little choices every single day that we make that really determine whether we're going to live this healthy life or not. And it's not just exercise, it's mind, body, and soul. It's all three of them that go together.
Yeah, and although very different stories, they had a common theme in regard to the choices of being optimistic or pessimistic.
Right.
And then the choices of, no, I'm in charge of this journey. I'm not a victim of what happens around me. And so with Tim, you know, it was pretty cool that I'm not going to be like this as a father. Right.
And he did that so young in life. That's what I loved about Tim. I mean, he was realizing that choice in high school even, and that really charted the way for how, I mean, I think about his kids and how lucky his kids are that they can grow up with a father who's so optimistic and so their cheerleader. And, you know, that's huge when you're raising kids.
Yeah, and so then attitude comes into play. Instead of dwelling on the rest of his life of why he's different than that because of experiences with his parents, he chose the path to carve his own path. Yeah. And so all too often we like to hear, or we don't like to, but we hear people say, yeah, I'm the way I am because of all the things that happened to me in the past, where he took a very different approach to those things.
Yeah, or it's either I am how I am because of things that have happened, and it's always blaming everyone else that it's happened. And a lot of the times, things happen to us that we can't control, but what we can control is our reaction and our actions to what happens when that happens. And I think it all kind of goes back to emotional control, right? It's understanding that even today, for me, as I've kind of picked up some of these tools and I practice these tools, I revert back. I was just talking about, I revert back, and it's just being able to get yourself back to center and turn yourself back. And Tim did such a good job of that, and so did Heather. They both, Yeah,
and it's Heather's self-awareness to understand what she was up against and know optimism was going to be a challenge. And so she talked a lot about support networks. Yeah. And not only inner circles, but make that circle as big as you can, and just ask people to be present when you're in those situations. Don't wait to act to help, but jump in. And I thought Heather and the choices she made about attitude and building a strong inner circle were big pieces of
Right.
what
There's-
helped her get through things.
There's so many quotes out there and so many, you know, articles and information out there about who you surround yourself has such a major impact on everything about what's happening, right? Because if you surround yourself with people who are constantly trying to push you down and pull you into unhealthy habits, you know, that's going to manifest. If you surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up and cheer you on and be your cheerleader and let go of judgment and let go of control and all that kind of stuff, it really, really does make a difference in everyday life.
And I would admit, turning 54 here very shortly, that I've become less patient with those negative environments, and so I'm more selective than I have ever been about the environments that I choose to surround myself
Right.
with, because it makes a big difference.
I use the girlfriend thing, you know, as an example of that. And you know, and now that I'm self-aware, you can pull yourself out of some of those kinds of things. But it's very easy to, you know, gossip and very easy to talk bad or tell yourself a story that you don't even know if it's the true story or not. And when you're doing that first before really thinking about what that situation is and trying to be positive and negative, it'll take you down those rabbit holes into negativity and judgment and control, and that's where all the unhealthy habits come from.
Yeah, so let's talk, now that we've kind of summarized that, let's talk about the next step in this process, which I thought Tim and Heather were very effective on, and that is, okay, I understand the circumstance and the situation. I am very aware of what I'm going to deal with, but now what do you do about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so action.
Action.
And so I thought Heather was very interesting when optimism she knew was going to be a challenge, and also a support group, so she went into blogging.
Right.
To positively reinforce, which then reached others and compounded this circle and things like that. And Tim just pouring into his kids,
Right.
knowing that paying forward kind of thing, and things like that. And so this action step is probably the most difficult part of the process, besides looking in the mirror
Right. Yeah.
and being self-aware,
Right.
is now act. Because we all kind of get, and the term is stuck or in a rut.
Yeah.
And so I thought we should spend the rest of the show here talking about how do we get to action.
How do you get to action, right?
Or Tina too. Most of the time it's things that stop us from taking action. Maybe that's a way to look at things
Right.
too. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the action is a choice too, and that mirror work feels like that's part of the action. That's part of the tool that you pull out. So being self-aware and understanding where you're at and what you need to work on is one thing. But you know, when I kind of started down my journey, I knew that here's where I am today, and I want to be happy and peaceful in the future, because that was kind of the goal. And so there was probably a lot of things that I needed to do to get there. You know, start exercising, start eating healthy, start meditating, yoga, all that kind of stuff. And when you're kind of coming out of that fog and you're understanding that self-awareness, and it was very overwhelming to me. It was like, oh my goodness, I have a lot of work to do. But I think what happens is you go, okay, let's chunk this down. What can I do today, right here, right now, that's going to make me closer to that goal? And it's just it's like we talked about before, it's those little choices that you make and that action that goes with it. So the action is just about, I can choose to not do anything, or I can choose to do something about this. And it really is that simple, and it's little things. I have a list of non-negotiables every single day that I need to do. I know that if I do these 10 non-negotiables, that will keep me healthy and keep me centered. And it's things from sleeping well and eating right and exercising and those kinds of things. But as those are the action items that go with it, I tackled one at a time. You know, I started eating healthy, and when I started eating healthy, I started to feel better. And then after I got that habit in place, I started to meditate. And once I got that habit in place, then I knew what the next one is. So it's having a plan in place to get where you want to go. You know, and you can't just wing it. You have to be very, very intentional about, I understand and I'm self-aware that here's where I am today, but I also know that that's where I want to go. So because I love and respect myself, here's exactly the plan and how I'm going to tackle this first, and then once I can get that, I'm going to tackle the next thing. So it's just being intentional about how you want to get better.
Yeah, that is a big, big piece of that. So I think once you've gone through the self-aware discovery, you understand what's in front of you and what the next steps are. But sometimes I think most of us think that will just happen naturally.
Right.
And so when you say highly intentional, if there's, construction season's in full swing, although I don't know if there's a season anymore, but I'll use the term potholes. So there are these potholes we can step into. One of them right out of the gates is, oh, it'll just happen. But it won't just happen unless you make it a priority and then be highly intentional about when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it,
Right.
and declare you're
Yeah.
going to do it. And declaring can be as simple as telling others. That'll help you hold yourself accountable.
Right. Writing it down.
Writing it down,
Right.
yep, is another. And so there are some ways to move this intentionality forward. Without intentionality, I think it dies, much like all the New Year's resolutions.
Sure.
You know, what
Yep.
do they say? By January 17th,
Yeah.
most of them are broken already?
Yep.
Because I think two things there that kind of plays into our discussion. One, we make it too big
Exactly.
of an action.
Yep.
It's just enormous. Everything's a process, but we do have this instant gratification and quick fix kind of mentality in the U.S. And so if you can break it down into manageable bite-sized chunks so that you can feel the quick wins and the victories,
Yeah.
that fires up the passion to keep moving, knowing that this is a process that could take several months.
Or years.
Even
Or
if there are
years.
commercials that say you're going to lose 21
Yeah.
pounds in 21 days, it's not going to be sustainable.
I love the eating example, right? Because I have never in my entire life ate healthy other than for the last year or two. And I didn't, my kids, unfortunately, were raised not eating healthy. And so I look back at that, and that's guilt I had to let go. Today we eat healthy. And when I started the whole healthy eating thing, I'd go really good for the week. So I ate really, really good this week. I'm going to treat myself today, and I'm going to have a binge day, right? And so then you eat everything in sight because you've done really well for the week. Well, you're still feeding yourself garbage. But I had to go through that process and that step because I wasn't eating clean at all in the beginning. But then if I could just get through the week and eat clean, then I could one day on the weekends, I could kind of binge eat, right? Well, that wasn't healthy, but it was better than what I was doing. Today I understand that that's not treating yourself. You're still putting garbage into your body. And so I don't do that anymore. But you have to go through that process to understand it and to commit to it and to be intentional about it. In today's world, when I have an ice cream cone, I'm very intentional about it. I understand I'm having this ice cream cone. I understand it's not healthy for me, but I understand that this is my treat that I want today. And it's very intentional, and I allow myself to do that. And I go, you know what? And now I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to eat healthy again. So it's about understanding and making yourself accountable for those choices. I think before I didn't get that it was a choice that I was eating garbage food. It was a choice.
Yeah, and I would add that probably a couple more potholes that we could talk about here too is most people, when they know it's time for action, might move towards, well, it's just not the right time.
Right.
And so
It's all excuses.
Yeah, so let's just kind of hold for a while and wait till the timing is right. Or, well, you know what? I don't know much about where I need to go, and so I need to learn more. To master things and things like that. And you know, I think we all have learned over the years of life is that whenever we run into something new, we're never experts the first time around. But in order to become one, you have to take the first step to act.
Right.
And then once you act, you start to experience. When you experience, you start to learn. They
Right.
say the best learning comes from evaluated experience. So to go dive into learning something and then say, okay, now I'm ready, when's the perfect time? The process is, nope, just go first.
Right.
Because you'll do your best learning, experiencing. And
You know what holds us back from that? Perfection. Perfection totally holds you back from that. And I'll use my workshops as a great example. I wanted to do workshops for a couple of years ever since I went to my first workshop because I knew how effective that they were and I knew how much they could transformationally change somebody. And I held off and held off and held off for years of not moving forward to set the date and start planning it because in my head it had to be perfect. I have to have everything laid out. I have to have everything planned. I have to have everything ready to go. And it paralyzed me from being able to move forward. And so there was just a point where I said, look, if I don't book the date, I'm never going to make this happen. And so 90 days before, I booked a date, and I had 90 days to put that workshop together. But it forced me to take action. It forced me to move forward and actually just do it because I was able to get past, oh, it has to be perfect.
yeah.
So, yeah, that perfection thing that's tough.
Well, we both jumped into the pool together when we were approached by Sun Prairie Media Center
Yeah.
about this show.
Right.
We both looked at each. We've never done this
Never
before.
done this, yeah.
And so when we finally decided to move forward and take action, it was okay. Maybe we won't be the best at this on the first show,
Right.
but each show will get better and better and better. And so,
And it did. It
Yeah.
is, hopefully. Hopefully it's getting better every time.
yeah,
But
well, I think it is because right
Yeah.
now it's, oh, there's cameras. I haven't noticed that until now. And so
Right.
I think that first episode, the comfort zone and what's going on, and oh, am I going to make a mistake? Talk
Right.
about another pothole.
Yeah.
The fear of failure and making mistakes.
Yeah.
But also, too, we become wise and worldly because of mistakes and lessons learned.
Yeah.
And so in order to grow, you need
Yeah.
those mistakes. So embrace them.
Yeah, I think the thing about it is the irony, maybe, I'm not sure if that's the right word or not, but the irony of it is that you can't appreciate something if you haven't walked through it. Excuse me. You can't, I mean, you have to go through the process and you have to go through the tough stuff and the things that are hard and icky to do in order to really get to the other end and understand it and be an expert at it and to feel it and be passionate about it and all that. If you don't go through it, you'll never appreciate it for what it really is.
Yeah, for those of us who are parents or going to be parents, there's no 4-year degree on parenting.
No.
It's learn as you go. And have we all made mistakes along the way? Oh, yeah.
Absolutely,
But we
yeah.
also were able to file those away and know that what to do differently the next time around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that first newborn that comes home from the hospital and, okay, those first couple of nights,
Yeah.
those are doozies. You're learning fast
Right.
because you've never done it before.
Yeah.
But again, as we get older, we get a little more apprehensive about wanting to be perfect and not making the mistakes and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
There's also one more pothole, I guess I would say, for us to talk about too, and that is comparison. If whatever you have decided needs to be the next steps, sometimes you'll equate it to somebody you really appreciate and look up to because they were able to get through a certain thing.
Or
Oh,
because you think that's what society expects you to do because of
there's
that.
another, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you kind of set a standard or a bar based on somebody else. And we're all unique individuals. And so it's fair to make sure that you're not competing with others, but that it's competing with yourself.
Right.
Because you're going to have a very different outcome with how unique you are, your background, your skills, and things like that. So that comparison pothole can also stop us
Yeah.
from some of those
Yeah.
things.
I think comparison and judgment kind of go hand in hand. So there's this comparison kind of thing where you think, oh, if I'm not that, then I'm not worthy. I know that that's kind of has always been mine. It's like, okay, if that's what I want, because I feel like I have to be perfect in order to get there, and until I get there, I'm not worthy. And it's this spiral effect, right? But the judgment piece, we haven't talked about the judgment, and that's a huge one for me because I think that it's human nature to judge. So I've had to do a lot of inner work on that so that I don't judge. But when you can really let go of that judging and that comparison and feel like, no, I am comfortable in my own skin, I love me for who I am, I don't need to be like anybody else, it's really quite a freeing kind of a thing because you don't spend all that time worrying about comparing and judging yourself against other people. So it frees up a lot of time to do really healthy stuff.
So while we didn't give many tidbits on moving forward on action, we did talk about what could hold you back. And I think that's just as important.
Right.
And so, we're coming to another wrap
You
here.
are. It's crazy. That went really fast.
No, and where we're going to go next with everything in the next episode, we're going to talk about more in detail and give examples of acting. Instead of what things might hold you back from acting, but how to act out and move forward and be intentional and purposeful.
Right.
And we're going to do that through Tina and I. And Tina's going to talk to, when you are in the business of providing optimism and awareness and seeing things very optimistically, you tend to be viewed as having everything going perfect in your lives. And
Right. That's not the case.
No,
Yeah. So
it's-
we just need to lay that straight right now. It's happiness is a choice, and it's in spite of the imperfection, and it's happiness in spite of all the normal stuff that happens in life. It's that choice. It comes down to a choice. You can have a lot of stuff happen to you. It's all about how you handle it.
So in the next episode, I'm going to share some of the challenges I had about 5 years ago with some pancaking of medical issues.
Right, we're going to talk about you a little bit in this next episode.
Yeah, and
I'm
the
excited
actions
about that.
I took through to get through that.
Good, good. All right, I think that wraps us up. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.